Okay. All right. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Motley Crew podcast, episode 7. We have a new guest here goes by the name of Joshua. Yeah. Thank you, Stan. And also today is Stan's birthday.
Woo, big 3-5.
Big 3-5.
35, baby.
Yes. So
happy birthday to me.
We got a interesting topic today that was brought up in the clinic. Specifically, or should I start off saying the topic, or you want to go have at this one?
No, go ahead.
All right. So the topic, if I'm saying correctly, is if you're in a relationship with your significant other, are you obliged or almost required to be connected to them on the social media network? So, for example, if we're on Facebook, do I have to be Facebook friends with you? Okay. All right. So let's see who's we gonna start. So
this one's a little bit of a hot topic because culturally, Facebook is really important nowadays. Like, there was a period of time, I guess, in the last 5 to 10 years where relationships really weren't official until they were Facebook official. But I'm sort of conflicted here because for me personally, I don't think that I have to be tied to my partner on social media. I don't think that we have to be Facebook friends to be in a fruitful and in a relationship. I think that I can have my own identity on Facebook and she could have her own identity on Facebook. I don't think that personally that Facebook is a reflection of my relationship or lack thereof a relationship. So I don't really see that being a measure of my relationship.
So you said that it is, you can have your own identity and she can have her own identity. Is it necessarily, how can I say, is it specific to only your relationship, only your identity? So when you have your Facebook, is it the boundaries are completely set where it's only your stuff on there and what you want to put on there, and that it cannot be necessarily intertwined with it?
I mean, I think it depends on the relationship, but no, there really aren't any boundaries other than what you want to put on your specific Facebook. Like if you want to take selfies or you want to put your significant other, I think you should. But if you don't, some people like privacy, and I don't necessarily think that. Again, it should be a measure of a relationship to be Facebook or social media buddies. Or
so as we know already, social media the social networks isn't necessarily just for yourself. It is your representation or your identity to the world, at least on the online profile. For the individuals who are not completely in your immediate vicinity, right? So people that you don't see all the time, how they will probably keep up with you is how you promote yourself on social media.
Yeah, so I could still do that. I can post of my significant other and not have her as my friend, right? What about that scenario, right? Again, I don't think it's a mandate personally, but I think that's not a popular opinion in today's world because how much significance we put on our social media.
The whole idea of a relationship, there's like two aspects of it, right? There's one of, hey, you brought it up earlier. It's not official until we Facebook official. So there is what we put out, the relationship is it solidified only when everybody else solidifies it for you. There's that part of the relationship. And then there's the part of a relationship where you're physically, like you talk to the other person, like, hey, we are connected this way. Because if we are connected only in, I guess we can consider almost a secretive manner, and nobody else recognizes it, then is that relationship valid?
Yes, because what happens within the home is more important than what other people think is happening in the home. So a perfect example is, right, there could be couples that are struggling, that are on the brink of, divorce, separation, whatever, that will be posting up all types of pictures together, all types of lovey-dovey pictures, right? And then in a week or so, next month, they're separated. So that was a complete facade. That's
Sure.
pretty popular, right? You see that often, right? Where inside the home is broken, but on Facebook it looks magnificent, like it's the best relationship. And I would say, focus more on what happens on your day to day than what other people. To me, affirmation is important, but for me, the circle of people that are closest to me, I put more weight onto getting affirmation from them than people on my social media. So it doesn't really matter. And again, personally, from when I started Facebook or MySpace when I was in college, I never really put any of my personal relationships on social media. So this is just kind of my value system, and I think in today's world it's really unpopular. But again, I don't believe that there's such a bearing or a weight on social media. Does that make sense?
It does, but I think two things here. There's somewhat of a inconsistency, right? Because as we are today, how we see other individuals, whether we know anything about them or not, is do I know you in person and do I know you online? If we have inconsistencies between the two profiles, inevitably you wonder, even if I don't say it to your face, like, oh, I wonder if something's going on in the background. Now, that really doesn't matter to your relationship. However, we know that the relationship that you have with, whether it be your girlfriend or your wife, the whole reason that you make it public and official is because it is public and official. Like, you want people to know that you're in this contract or this arrangement.
But I also feel like it's okay if I don't want people to know, right? I don't think there's a wrong answer. I'm just saying that I believe that if you are not Facebook friends with your partner, that is okay. And I believe if you are Facebook friends with your partner, that is also okay.
Okay.
But I just think in today's world, if you are not Facebook friends with your partner, it's going to be seen as something's up, or you're trying to hide something, or maybe the relationship isn't the best. Maybe you don't want to show the world your significant other, or maybe you're trying to keep space open for other individuals.
The back burner.
all of those scenarios of which you just mentioned could potentially be true.
But it could also be true if I'm out there blasting my relationship on Facebook, right?
But there's more of a social cost to that, right? If you're blasting it all on social media that you're having a great time with your significant other, but then you have all these other individuals on the back burner and whatnot. If people are following you and they're keeping up with your days, like, oh, and then you actually do transition to somebody else a month later, it's like, oh man, look at Stan, he's the hypocrisy, or like potentially there's like a social cost to doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you keep it, shut off altogether, yes, you may not be able to see all the other individuals. However, it always leads to the question of, well, what is to hide, right? Why is it shut off on that menu? Now, I am in agreement with you. I don't think you have to be Facebook friends, but I've heard many a times that they say it on surface value, like, you know what? Yeah, it'd be fine. Until I ask them, like, are you really okay with your husband not following you? He's like, oh, actually, no. I kind of want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they're up to. I want to know who they're talking to. So it's almost, I don't know if it's an insecurity or maybe it's just like curiosity. I mean, it could be both, either or. But that's how I see it, at least from a more of a modern view of it. I was not around when it was not as prevalent, put it that way. So maybe Rob has more insight into that, given that you're more sagely than I.
See, I think Stan made a lot of good points.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Stan made a lot of good points. But I also want to say that it all depends on how you view social media. if you view social media as an extension of you as an individual, and that's what you had going into the relationship, and your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever social media is just popping, and then that's how you want it to be because that's who you were before you came into the relationship. Do you want to give everything and what into that relationship, and what parts of that of yourself do you not want to give? I think if you had that whole social media outlet before that person was in your life, and you have a history of not friending relationships or wives or whatever it is historically on social media, then it should be something that's discussed beforehand, and then say, hey, this is my thing. This is how I individualistically express myself. It's kind of like a stress pressure relief valve for me. This is what makes me happy, all the likes and all that kind of stuff. And then sometimes I just want to disconnect from the world by going into this fold of social media, and I just want to live here and exist here for a second without any other outside distractions, thinking about relationships or maybe what we're going through. It's not anything to be devious, or I'm not looking for anybody to slide into my DMs or anything like that. It's just who I feel I am, and it gives me a lot of stress relief, and it gives me a lot of humor and brevity to my life. Could be.
Okay. Josh, you got anything to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's obligated, but I think it's something that it should be discussed because like you guys have said before, social media does play a major role in everybody's life at the moment. So when you do decide to date somebody or whatever, I think it's important for you to discuss what the expectations are, because if the expectations are that you're going to follow each other or not follow each other, I think that should be discussed so that there's no confusion in the long run. But I also feel like, personally for me, I feel like most of the time it seems to be that women tend to be more prone to want to follow you, or they want you to post them on your social media account.
Because that's the thing about it. If you don't want your significant other to follow you on social media, you have to have a really good reason as to why you don't want that person there. And then they have to discuss, because if that person really is into social media and they want to make that official known across all social media platforms to make sure there's less of a chance of somebody cheating, you are connected to this one person in every given way. If that's what makes that person feel secure, you've got to be able to say, well, I understand that, but X, this is why I would like to keep it private. And it's got to be a good reason as to why you'd want to keep it private. And everybody has their own reason as to why they would want to keep it private away from their significant other.
See, but I'm going to interject a little bit, Mike. But, I don't think you have to separate the two. You can do both. You can post your significant other and not be friends with your significant other.
True, but what would be the reason as to why you're not friends with your significant other? Because if they ask you, you have to have a good reason, and it's got to be a reason that they understand, or else they're just going to feel like you're up to something. You're up to no good. This is something that he wants for himself. Why? So he can continue to chat with his ex-girlfriends or meet new people online that I'm not aware of, and he has a way out and all these types of things. So you wanna be as transparent as possible. If you're hiding your social media accounts from your significant others, it could make it seem as if you're hiding something. You're not being transparent. But why are you not being transparent? Because it is a medium of transparency that you want to have there. But if you don't want her or him in your social media, what is the specific reason why? And what are acceptable reasons as to why you don't want them there?
Didn't you say, well, is there no better reason than just to want privacy? Is privacy not a good enough reason? Because you keep saying that you have to have a good reason for it, right? I would say privacy is a pretty good reason, if not one of the best reasons.
Privacy is a good reason, but we're talking about social media. It's not as if you're doing something in private. Your friend, you have hundreds, thousands of friends on social media, and you're telling the person that's most closest to you, no, you can't be one of them. So it's not really a private forum. You could say it's a form of individualistic expression. Yes, maybe you want that as your safe haven, as something that you can go to without anybody else getting involved. But at the same time, there's still thousands of other people, hundreds of other people that follow you. But you're saying that the most important person in your life, you can't be one of my followers because of X, because of what reason? And whatever that X is, you better have a really good reason, especially if he or she, your significant other, is largely into social media as well. If both of you guys are into social media and then you just say you're not going to follow each other, or you say you're not going to follow them, or they say they're not going to follow you, you cannot follow me, no, I'm going to block you and all that kind of stuff, it could be a very big cause of concern. if you block somebody on social media, there's a social media significance to that. You do not want that person as a part of your life. Usually it's somebody that you're not getting along with. You don't want them to be a part of your life. You don't talk to them, etc. So you block them. You don't want them to be a part of that realm anymore. So if you're going to block them on social media or tell them that they can't be a part of your social media life, there better be a really good reason, because it can be a cause of concern, especially if both of those people grew up with social media, like you did, saying, like you said, you can't remember there was a time without it, and you came through it with middle school, high school, and now you're adults,
pretty
and
much.
you're
Yeah.
pretty much always on social media. But the most important person in your life now can't be part of that 1,000, 2,000 friend group that you have on there. It's got to be a good reason.
Okay. So Rob, what would you say is a potential good reason?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
True. You know what,
So
Stan?
I
What
don't
is
know,
a good
because-
reason?
Yeah, I
Or
don't.
what is your good
Because
reason?
social media doesn't hold that much of a significance to me. I'm not there posting every little part of my life, posting weekly, commenting weekly, and all that kind of stuff. I'll go on there every once in a while for a laugh and all these types of things, but I don't necessarily, it's not that inundated into my life where I would tell my wife, no, you can't be friends with me on social media. It's not that important to me. I don't care if you look. It's not an extension of my expression of my individualistic personality or anything like that. It's just kind of is. Keep up with family, keep up with the pictures, and then the people that I have that I'm friends with on social media. It's not really that big of a deal. So I don't know what a potential reason would be, but Stan might be able to give some insight, because he may have thought of something that I'm not thinking of.
Well, I think first and foremost, like you said, Mike, privacy is probably a good reason, right? Like if you want privacy in your relationship, because you're still two individuals that sort of are separate, that are coming together. So you don't necessarily have to share 100% of your life with your significant other, right? So if social media is one area that you decide that you would like to have some privacy, that could be it. Or the potential for conflict, because if you, let's say you, Rob, you don't put a lot of onus into social media. You're not on there, you're not posting a lot, but what if your wife is? And what if some of her behaviors on social media are something that you don't prefer, or you wouldn't want to do, right? And it causes conflict within the relationship. At that point, you have to, I think that it could be an appropriate conversation to be like, yo, listen, the way you move on social media and the way that I move, totally different, right? I'm going to respect the fact that you can do what you want to do on your social media, and I need you to respect the fact that I can do what I do on my social media. And if there is some conflict between the two, I think it may be appropriate not to be social media friends.
And just to piggyback off what Stanley is saying right now, I just feel like being on social media, me being your friend or not, is going to hold me more or less accountable. So I feel like just being friends can make things more complex than they really are, because then they can just cause an argument about something that we don't even have to have a disagreement about if we already decide that we're not going to be
Yeah, but that could
friends.
happen at any time. You can have an argument whether you use social media or
Right.
not. Accountability will be there, especially if you're close.
Right.
But I think it just depends, right? Because there could be, and especially the weight that social media holds, and like Josh alluded to a little earlier, typically females hold more weight to social media. So if they're looking at the people that you follow, right? If they're looking at your behavior on social media, if they're saying like, hey, the way that you like photos is affecting the way that I feel, those are things that you have to sort of take into consideration, right? And again, those like you said, Rob, those could bring up conversations where you need to come to some sort of compromise. And I think in a choice, if there is no ability to come to a compromise, I think a possible choice is to say, hey, I don't think we should be Facebook friends.
This kind of leads into the question of, does your significant other need to know everything about you? And the reason I bring that up is because actually just at lunch, I had this brought up to me. They were saying, hey, the other party I was with, they said, you know what? I share my location of my phone with my girlfriend. And I heard that. I was like, I absolutely do not share my location with my girlfriend.
Right.
And
So the question could be like, why, Mike? Why are you not sharing?
so for my reason is that I don't necessarily want to be bothered on what I'm doing. So for example, let's say that I am going to go to Sam's or something to buy groceries. Right? Nothing noxious, nothing about that. Just going to buy some groceries. And we're going to be meeting up at 5 o'clock. I don't want to really hear anything about, not responding on time when I know you're at the groceries. I know you have your phone right now. Like, yo, I'm buying groceries right now. Like, oh, why aren't you here on time? Like, I don't want to hear any of that because, like, if I'm not responding, it's because I'm busy doing something, not because I'm ignoring you. That's how I see it. I heard the other response from the other party was saying, hey, sometimes you were supposed to meet up, and I just so happened to sleep in, and I missed our meeting. And then instead of them panicking, now I know it's like, oh, you're just at your house. I don't know why you're not picking up your phone, but you're just at your house type of thing. So that's their reason of why they share it. Do you share your location, Stan?
I'm not even sure. To be honest, I don't know if we share locations.
Maybe
or
you
not.
do.
Maybe I don't.
Or let's just assume that you do not. Or actually, you know what? Let's not assume anything. Which would you prefer, or you don't care?
No, I think I would be in agreement with you. I don't necessarily know that I would want to share my location all the time. But I do see the other side of it. There's some benefits, but again, it depends on the individual. Because if someone is constantly like, "Hey, I know you're in this," or "Hey, you're here. Can you pick this up?" Or "Hey, you're there. Why didn't you tell me that you were there?" It just depends on sort of the relationship. But I could see the benefit to that. Like, if you're out of town, or if they're sort of worried where you are, just to kind of peek. But again, I tend to feel like in relationships you need your space to be an individual. You can have some sort of privacy without sort of damaging the relationship between your significant other, right? I think, especially in today's world, if you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it regardless, right?
Well, what's that? What we always say, Stan? What do we always say? Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Yeah.
So like going back to the social media, I just feel like we put a lot of emphasis on social media and who you're friends with and who you're not, and who you're texting and who's hitting you up. I think we're going to talk a little bit later about like if an ex contacts you to say, hey,
how much time we have on it right now?
Maybe like 10 minutes.
10 minutes? We can even dive into it right now.
Yeah, like say an old flame hits you up, like, hey, how you doing? It's nice to see you doing well. Like, is that appropriate?
For what? For you? To respond? You saying?
Yeah, for the individual. It's not just me. For just anyone.
No, I'm not necessarily. I'm saying specifically. Somebody hits you up, an ex or whatnot. Are you asking me like what is the appropriate response?
Yeah.
What should you do?
What should you do? Well, in my opinion, I feel like it's okay to just be like, hey, how you doing? Long time, whatever. Like,
wow. I agree with you, but that seems a bit bold, and I only say that just because of potential ramifications. Your gain of connecting with somebody, to me, it far outweighs the risk of, hey, getting a question, why are you connecting with your ex right now? It's like, yo, if you just said hello, I just said hello. It's not a big deal. I see it that way too. But then you get all these questions that you don't want to be dealing with.
Absolutely. So if that ever does occur, deep down in my mind, I kind of second guess, like, should I just say hi? Or
just
not?
left on red, bro. Just left on red. That's the answer.
Leave it on red or not, or just don't respond to the message. But I don't really think that it's that serious.
It's not about what you think, Stan. That's
It's
the
not.
point.
But really, if you just think about it, at some point in time, you shared some energy and time with this individual. So for them to reach back, it's really based on intent, right? And if they're reaching out to try to rekindle something, then it's really not up to that individual. It's up to you what you decide to do. Again, it's really based on the individuals in a relationship, because we live in a world that you have access to everything. So whether or not you're Facebook friends with your significant other, whether or not your ex is hitting you up, it's really ultimately based up to your decisions and what you're going to do, right?
All right.
So it really, to me, this is really like an
Your boy's trying to add in right
Yeah,
now.
I
You're
mean-
stealing the microphone. This guy.
So yeah, I would have to disagree. I don't think that I would respond to an ex, just because, like you said, I feel like it opens up the door, the window to a lot of questions, or maybe even like a lot of issues with your significant other. And so that's why I think I would just.
So you choose the path of peace.
Yeah, I
He
just
chooses
choose-
the path
yeah,
of potential
yeah,
conflict.
Yeah, the path of least resistance is the path that I think I would take for
Oh,
sure.
sagely one. What should we do?
It all depends on the relationship and the type of relationship you have with the person that you're with right now. If you're really solid in your relationship, you don't really sense any signs of jealousy within your relationship. Your significant other isn't really the jealous type, and you're all in. Then yeah, you can feel free to respond. But if you feel like it's going to have some sort of conflict in your relationship, and the dynamics of your relationship are such, maybe you're trying to rebuild trust within the relationship from something that's happened in the past, or you just have somebody that's really insecure or jealous, you might want to bypass that comment altogether. It all depends. It all depends on the individual situation.
What a PT-ass answer. It depends. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Well, do we have anything more to add to this particular topic? I feel we flushed this out because we've hit both sides, and it's like, I don't really know what to do. And according to the sagely one, the answer really is, it depends. Are you comfortable and trusting in your relationship, or are you skeptical about potential open doors to somewhere?
And yeah, I think another question would be: would you be comfortable with your wife or your girlfriend responding to her ex?
Are you asking me personally?
I mean,
Like personally, yeah.
Whatever. I feel the same. Whatever.
Yeah, like whatever. Like again, because my expectation is probably for that individual to shoot his shot, right? It's just the way of the world, right? And it's really based on your decision. If you are my significant other and you receive that and you accept all that energy, that's the choice that you made. You decided that, right? So you have to suffer the consequences, right?
So the onus, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, so the onus is on the individual that is going to, whether that person responds or not. So I guess you could kind of take it a step further, or way step further, right? If you decide to cheat on your spouse or significant other, and that person knows that you're in a relationship or family relationship with another with you have a family or whatever, whose responsibility is that? Is that the person who reached out to initiate the relationship, or the person who actually accepted the relationship on top of it?
I mean, that's
that's
really a complex answer.
It's a complex question, but
Yeah,
it kind of
yeah.
speaks to what you're saying. So if your ex-girlfriend reaches out to you on social media, and you respond, hey, everything is going well, and then she takes it a step further and slides into DMs, this, that, and the other, what we had was great. At that point, you just cut it off, because that's what you want to do, and the onus is on you to turn that down, because that kind of people coming on to you and that kind of advancement happens on social media. It happens in everyday real life. It doesn't necessarily even have to be on social media. So if you're a responsible individual in a responsible relationship, you should be able to turn that down, and your significant other should have the confidence in you to turn it down, whether it's in person or on social media, because it's going to happen no matter what.
correct.
A lot of workplace relationships or affairs and so forth happen in the workplace, because you spend so much time with people in the workplace. So you have to be the responsible one at that time to say, no, I've got a girlfriend, I've got a boyfriend, I've got a wife, I've got a husband, I've got a family, and I'm just going to keep it right here. Otherwise, you could drift off anywhere you want to. There's billions of people on this planet.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
again, bringing it back to the Facebook thing, I think it's very similar. Like, if my ex-girlfriend contacts me, for me, it's, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm great.
That's it.
Boom. Whatever you could talk about. Hey, whatever you want to talk about, but it's there. It's
Well, I think what Rob is saying, like, hey, I'm great. Me and my family are doing well. Like, you
Correct.
put that disclaimer immediately, like, hey,
Yeah.
me and my family are doing really well. How's you and your
how the
life?
kids
or
or
whatnot? Yeah.
It's a good one. Respond in a way that actually includes your significant other and or your family in the response.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that can actually get you some points, maybe.
Oh, well.
Points
oh,
with who?
even, yeah.
points with who?
With your significant
Oh,
other. With your
yeah,
significant
yeah.
other.
But if they happen to see that message,
Yeah, if you're friends on social media.
right?
If
If,
you're
if
friends on
they
social
happen to see that message,
Yeah, if they happen to see it.
Right.
Because that's what we're talking about, right? That's what he's talking about. Would you feel comfortable with your significant other actually responding to somebody else on social media? So it depends on the response. If the response is kind of like left wide open, oh yeah, I'm doing well, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, and it's all about me, me. But if it's all about, oh yeah, me and my wife and my children are doing well, boom.
I don't necessarily
Bring her into it. Yeah, that's my man. That's my girl. All that kind of
that
stuff.
is definitely a sagely sort of move, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would agree to
Now
that.
who's the sage?
That's
Wow.
that's
You're
a
the sage.
that's a level up. But what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily think that even matters. If I'm just like, hey, I'm good, right? You could just say you're good. I'm having a good time. I'm working. I leveled up. Whatever you talk about yourself, all right.
It's cool, but it does leave it up for more insecurities on your significant other's behalf. It does make him or her wonder, oh, I wonder if they took this a step further behind the scenes. I wonder if she actually sent him a DM. Or he
Right. So,
sent her a
so
DM
you see how
and all that kind of
complex
stuff. Right.
it becomes, like
Right.
social media. So sometimes, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This could be a reason why you would be like, hey, you know what? I don't think it's necessary for us to be Facebook friends. Because if this complexity, if you bring this level of complexity to the relationship, right? It's just another layer of stress for absolutely no reason, in my opinion. Right? So that would be a good reason to tell your significant other, like, hey, the way that I see social media, maybe I'm quick with my responses. I'm not as thoughtful in my responses.
There you go.
And then the way that you internalize the way that I respond, it just brings another level of distress. And I just don't want that.
Yeah.
Right?
So Rob, as we pointed out before, you said that the onus is on the individual to respond in the manner, or at least the big brain move, the level up move, is to squash the insecurity in the first place, because you know that that's going to happen in the future if you open the door up to possibility. That is something that can come up later, and they're going to say, hey, why did you not squash this in the beginning? So if you straight up enter, hey, pretty much on your shirt that says, I am married or I am in a relationship, and then you continue with your conversation, it's fine. So, but it's not technically your responsibility to do that, right? That's just kind of like a big brain move to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because is it really that wrong for me to leave the door open like that? I don't think it's wrong. It's just not smart, as in you potentially would be dealing with more ramifications later.
Right. The more you can open and close that door to leave less up to interpretation by your significant other, I think the better it's going to be for the relationship overall. I mean, Stan is saying that he would prefer to leave that door closed altogether.
Yes.
You're my wife or a significant other. We are not friends on social media because it adds too much complexity.
Right.
If you guys are friends on social media, I think you should answer any of those messages that you have out there that's reaching out to you from ex-girlfriends or whoever very responsibly, like how you mentioned. Because if you don't answer it at all, I mean, do you want to seem like that guy or that girl or whatever? It might just seem like it's rude. You're responding to everybody else. They asked you a direct question, and then you're just not responding to them. Maybe it's an amicable breakup. It's no big deal. You've moved on. She's moved on. It's not that big of a deal. So you don't want it to be like that, especially if you're, in business type of relationships. You never know where you might mingle with this person again in the future. You don't want to burn any bridges like that unless you necessarily have to. So you might want to leave it open, but I think you have to answer intelligently when you do respond back, just like you mentioned, if you answer back at all.
Thank you, Rob. I like how he goes on his rants. Gotta give a quick sip of water, though. All right. Well, I mean, I'm pretty fleshed out on this topic. Unless you guys want to add more to it.
I just want to add one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
So
add more. Yeah.
Josh keeps on opening it up.
Josh just opens up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I know I said earlier that I feel like sometimes women are more prone to want you to post them on their social media, or they're just more prone to want to be friends with you on social media. But I think a good point of this, I don't know, I just met you guys, so I don't know if you guys know Issa Rae. Mm-hmm. But she was recently married, and nobody knew who she was dating. She never posted pictures of her boyfriend or her fiance. And next thing we know, she's posting the picture of her husband. So who's to say she would have even gotten married if she was, playing into the role of posting her significant other on Instagram and Facebook and making it publicly known that this is who she's dating. So I think that's
So why do you think she just went straight off to post it to be public then? Because at that point, nobody knew anyways, right? So she could have kept it that way.
Right.
So why do you think she put it out there?
I mean, I feel like for me, maybe she just feels like it's a major milestone in her life, and
to
get married.
Getting married, right?
To get married,
because being married is a public display.
And by the way, I don't think that all women are prone to just. I just feel like more than less.
The majority. Or
I just want to get that.
I know. We're not trying to put you on a stake out here. Come on. You're a good guy. We know that. Yeah.
So I feel like the way she played it, I feel like in an alternate universe, if she was to post her boyfriend at the time, maybe she wouldn't have even made it to the point to get married.
So do you think that was a better way to go about it?
Is there a better way?
No, I'm saying, do you think the way that she went about it would be the way that you would go about it? Or would you prefer the other way where it's like more recent?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So here's something to think about, right? So when growing up, and when I was a single man, right, my boys and I always said, right, if you bring a attractive female to the club, you're more likely to attract other females.
Yes. Than
if you were to go
by
yourself.
Yes.
So there's another dimension to it, right? A lot of and I feel like a lot of times, especially when we're talking about social media, right? There are cases where, again, someone will be blasting their significant other for other reasons, right? Or maybe reasons to attract other females or other males.
Wow,
to their
that's
post.
That's like the 3D play right here.
Right?
You literally just said, "Whoa!" You just said that you are posting your relationship so that you could potentially fish for more relationships because your relationship's out there, and then now you're getting more attention because of it.
Mike, don't you recall when we were watching that Divorce Court?
Yes, I do recall watching
that episode of Divorce Court when the female accused the male of actually doing that.
Yes,
right.
I do remember. No, but I don't know how valid it is. I'm just going to assume that it's valid.
Obviously, we don't know, but could that be a play? Could that be a move? Absolutely, we see it all the time.
Yeah, my brain's too smooth for that. I don't know if I can.
Your brain is too smooth.
I don't know. I can just 4D that all the way over. You know what I mean?
It's just again, like I just feel like social media, and especially it's just really complex because there's so many different avenues and so many different plays, right? And it just doesn't need to be, in my opinion. It's purely entertainment for me.
Okay.
Or a way to fish and a way to cheat, like you just said.
I mean, it's all of these things.
It could be all of these things.
No. But
social media
but I'm
just
speaking for myself.
For yourself.
Yeah.
So, but on a more broad statement or broad generality, it can be used to fish. It can be used to cheat.
Yes.
It can be used to go behind
multiple purposes.
significant others back in order to
absolutely
be that person.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what your significant other.
I told you, bro. I told you. I saw he's pump faked like 5 times trying to get in there, and then Rod just kept on going.
No, it's making a really good point, so it's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people, or people who are adamant that we're friends on social media, that's more of what they're scared of, because they know those types of things can happen, and maybe a little bit more easily than it can happen in a live in-person interaction.
So it's fear, you're saying, that drives that.
Fear, insecurity, call it what it is that you want to call it.
Okay.
Maybe you just want the relationship to be solid. You know, you don't want your family structure to be broken up, so you want to minimize the risk. However you want to look at it.
Josh, it's your turn.
I just think at the end of the day, it's idealistic to want to be able to follow your wife or girlfriend or whatever. But I guess I'm a realist, so I feel like in reality, it causes more harm than good.
To follow or to not follow?
To follow. Yeah, that's why I think it's just.
You think
it's not,
so?
it's idealistic, but I don't think it's.
So, do you
realistic.
follow, if you are in a significant other? Would you follow her then?
No.
She's getting blocked. Yo, that's what you just said.
Yeah.
You said she's getting blocked.
Yeah.
All right.
But like I said, I think that's something you should discuss, and it's kind of like what everybody's been saying. It's something that you should discuss and set expectations about what it's going to be.
Because really, the underlying issue or potential issue is just trust, right? Because you guys can be following each other, or you guys can both not be following each other, and it really doesn't matter if there's trust between both parties. Would you guys agree with that?
100%.
Yes.
Okay.
I do, but I'll add to it though. It's trust in your partner, but I feel like it's more trust in yourself, right? Am I able to sort of what's the word that I'm looking for? Am I able to receive information that may drive me to that mindset and think of it in a logical sense, right? Or think of it, or to maintain the trust in my significant other. Am I able to trust myself to maintain the trust of my significant other?
I've been thinking about this a little bit. Whenever your significant other talks to you on any particular matter, for me, I always have like almost like a mental brace of like, all right, what is about to happen? Usually it's nothing big deal. Like we could be talking about whatever. But I kind of have a little bit of, all right, preparing for the worst. Because there's more potential risks or problems that can come above it, right? But when you're on social media, you don't necessarily have that, or at least for me, I don't have that reflex of like, all right, what is coming up next? You can just kind of say what you want to say. Because I remember there's a couple times before in the past couple of years, Stan, you were telling me like, yo, this guy was talking to me on social media or like commenting on this, and I got so hot, man. I had to let him know. And that type of thing can definitely happen when you're in social media, just because, I don't know, for me, I get that reflex. I don't know about anybody else, but I get that reflex. It's like, okay, I kind of need to watch what I say in terms of facade-wise compared to if you're talking to an online profile. Even if it's somebody that you know, you're a little bit more laissez-faire about it because you're not in front of them. You might, if they get you like real hot, you might, right back. So that's kind of how I see it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, anything more to add, Josh?
No, I'm done.
Yeah, he's good. How about you, Rob?
I do, but I think we'll wrap it up now. It's been long enough.
Okay. All right, Stan.
I'm good.
All right, closing up. Well, thank you for watching. This has been episode 6 of the Motley Crew podcast. My name is Mike. This is Stan. We have Rob and our guest, Josh.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Yeah,
Great
thanks.
job.
Great job.
All right.